It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222, your emails at randykabc@gmail.com, and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. Even if you don't download podcasts, just hit subscribe because, I don't know, it helps me with a contract negotiation. I don't know. School is back in California in most districts, which means traffic is heavier. And if you happen to live near a school, like I live a couple blocks away from a high school, every way to get home in the afternoon is awful. Because I leave my office in Culver City at 3 o'clock to get here by 4 o'clock, have lunch, prep, do this show by 5 o'clock. 4 o'clock is also when all the school picking up is going on, and there's no good way to go. It's been 2 days this week, and one day I decided to take victory. And I had to honk at somebody because they pulled out right in front of me because people picking up their kids are completely unaware of traffic. Today, I took Van Owen, and I was going through an intersection. The light turned yellow, and even though I was already going through an intersection, someone decided to turn left right in front of me. That was 2 big honks and 2 big days. But I'm not here to talk about how awful traffic is when parents are picking up their kids because no parent feels safe letting their kids walk to and from school anymore. That's not what we're talking about today. Maybe we'll talk about that another day. We're here to talk about a monumental change that could be coming to schools if a new bill going through the legislature passes. The bill is AB 1264, and it has to do with the food that is served in California schools, whether they be elementary schools, junior high schools, or high schools. What this bill would do would identify what they call our ultra-processed foods, which I think you know what those are, and would figure out which are the most dangerous foods that will get kids hooked on all the bad stuff that makes them fat and gives them man boobs when they're 14. I know from personal experience. And would figure out how to eliminate those. I've got the bill right in front of me. And I've got a press conference from the writer of this bill. He happens to be my assemblyman in the San Fernando Valley, Assemblyman Jesse Gabriel. Let's hear what he has to say.
So welcome to our back to school press conference. Students around the state are returning to school. That includes my 3 little boys. I'm very blessed to have 3 sons who started elementary school last week, a 4th grader, a 2nd grader, and my little guy started kindergarten. So this work that we are doing here is very personal to me. And as students are going back to school and as the legislature has returned to session yesterday for our critical final month of the legislative session, we felt that it was an appropriate moment to provide an update on some notable developments related to Assembly Bill 1264 and also to talk about the path forward.
What is the path forward here? Because I think we're in an interesting time where this kind of talk is kind of supported on both sides right now. I think a lot more people are aware of health and wellness. I think a lot more people are aware of what junk food does to you and what junk food does to a kid. Now, I also understand, while I'm not a parent, I am an uncle. And it is just, I do not understand the plight, how difficult it is to get little kids to eat anything, let alone all the junk things they could possibly want. But little kids just don't like to eat. It's like pulling teeth. Here's a grilled cheese. Here's a PB&J. Here's apples. What? Apples have to have peanut butter on them? Here, will you eat this? No? Oh, but you'll eat a yogurt squeeze packet. Just some of the things I've experienced with my newer life as an uncle is little kids don't like to eat, let alone if you're trying to make them eat healthy food. Good luck.
And as a reminder, and hopefully all of you know, AB 1264 is a historic, first-in-the-nation bipartisan legislation that would phase out the most dangerous ultra-processed foods from California schools.
Now, I listened to this entire 30-minute press conference expecting there to be some identification of what ultra-processed foods are. But they don't specifically spell them out. Apparently, this legislation will set up a board to figure out what they are, the most dangerous ones, and then ban them from schools. And in fact, let me read you from the bill itself. The people of the state of California do enact as follows. It is the intent of the legislature to reduce the consumption of ultra-processed foods by the children of California and encourage schools and school districts to promote and provide healthier options in school meals in advance of the compliance dates provided. And I think this might be an issue where most people are on the same page. I don't know. I do understand freedom of choice. I do understand that, hey, they're kids. They should be able to eat what they want. But let me just tell you from my experience, I think I remember more about the food that was served in my high school than anything I was taught in that high school. Like, if I really focus on what my days in Hart High School in Newhall were like, I kind of remember band. I definitely remember fooling around with my friends and playing cards at lunch. I don't really remember that many classes. I don't remember that many teachers, except for one who sticks out because he was really funny. But boy, do I remember the food. This might say more about me than it does other people. But, you know, it's not a surprise that somebody who didn't have a problem eating when he was little got to a point where I was a little too good at it. Because not only was I raised on, being able to have fast food every weekend, I was also allowed to hit the freezer whenever I didn't feel like eating that disgusting grilled thing that my parents made, because I didn't think salmon was good because I was a child. So instead of having the salmon that my parents grilled, well, I go into the freezer and I have a microwave burrito or a microwave Pierre brand cheeseburger from Costco, or that Celeste pizza for one. And you know what I would do? I would put it in the toaster oven, and then I would fold it in half, and I would make a Celeste calzone for me. But that was all the food I ate at home. When it came to the food that was served in my school, and my parents weren't really watching because they weren't there, and I would be stealing change out of my dad's change drawer so I had money to pay for it until I started working. Then I could really go nuts. But boy, do I remember the things that were served. And I don't know if it has changed because I realized it today. I graduated high school 22 years ago, which is a weird thing to say. But every single corner of Hart High School when I attended there from 1999 to 2003, outside of every building, every place you could see, you'd see the word Pepsi. You'd see it everywhere. Pepsi vending machines, some of them, well, most of them were the typical 16-ounce Pepsi bottles. But sometimes they'd have the even bigger ones, the 22-ounce Pepsi bottles. And I think that was the first year I attended Hart High was when I discovered my love for wild cherry Pepsi and got to enjoy that. So I remember drinking lots. I probably had 2 or 3 Pepsis or cherry Pepsis throughout the school day. Now, when I was at home, I was drinking soda by the 2-liter bottle. At this point, I was already overweight, so I was chugging Diet Dr. Pepper in a giant 2-liter bottle. Gee, I wonder how I got up to almost 300 pounds. At school, I remember the little snack shack, not directly in the cafeteria, but where everyone would hang out before school starts. You could get that 25-cent cookie, or if you had some real money, like 75 cents, you could get some chips. You could get Sun Chips. Those were kind of healthy. No, they weren't. Not whatever. You could get the sour cream and onion Lays, or you could get the Cheetos. Oh, the Flamin' Hot Cheetos, I probably had every single day. There's some ultra-processed food for you. How exactly does it even get to that color? In fact, they had something called Chester's Fries, which was like Cheetos, but even more processed tasting. Funyuns. No adult has ever eaten Funyuns. Funyuns are for teenagers at high school. And to top it all off, not only did we have all of those snacks, and, I wasn't too much of a sweets person, so I'm sure there was candy, but I didn't really go crazy with it, except for Reese's. Reese's are my weakness. I fully admit it. But my high school, in the middle of the cafeteria, I remember it clear as day. On the left side of the cafeteria was the typical line where you get the food. Like if you happen to have the ticket, if you're low income, you can get your meal for the day. You get your milk. But in the middle of my high school cafeteria in Newhall, California, was just a straight up Taco Bell. Well, kind of a Taco Bell. It said Taco Bell, and they had one item, and it was a bean burrito, and I believe it cost $1.25. And I got two of those every single day. Not only that, but I believe there was a rotating schedule of different fast food that would have little kiosks, little stands outside in the yard during lunchtime. Carl's Jr., I swear if I get this correctly, I'm going to kill. This is crazy, but I think Carl's Jr. had it on Tuesdays. Pizza Hut had it on Fridays. Blimpie had it on Thursdays. I think Subway had it on Mondays. So you had some kind of option of fast food no matter where you were inside the school every single day. Then, of course, when you turn 16 and you get a car, you can go off campus. And oh boy, that's when you hit all the lunch buffets. This was at the time where things were still relatively cheap, and you could get a lunch buffet at the local Pizza Hut or the local Chinese restaurant or the local Mongolian barbecue for like $6. And I was working at the time at Magic Mountain, and I would say most of my earnings went to eating a ton of food during high school or buying CDs. Bought a lot of CDs. I don't know what happened to any of them, but I had a lot of CDs, and then the iPod came out. So I understand this issue intimately because I ate nothing but junk food. Now, there was also the food that was served at the proper cafeteria, but that wasn't much better. I distinctly remember the fake McRib. They had a rib sandwich at my high school, and it had the fake imprint of rib bones. I don't know why they did that. I think most people's first memory of cafeteria food is probably in elementary school when you remember a square-cut pizza that was so greasy you could see your reflection in it. People were raised on this, and we all turned out okay. I mean, I turned out severely overweight, and I'm shocked that I wasn't diabetic, but I'm learning how to be better now. So it's an interesting thought. Now that we kind of know better about how damaging this food can be to chronic health problems, and the state pays for a lot of money for all this food that's consumed in school, just think about how much work goes into preparing one school cafeteria every day that's serving, 500, 1,000, possibly 2,000 kids? It's wild. So should we think about, I understand that, people should be allowed to eat whatever they want, but should we make it so easy to eat the crap that it's right there for sale? And by the way, I don't even know how the budgets work, but I bet you schools get a lot of funding from being able to sell Cheetos and Pepsi and Taco Bell inside schools. I bet you there's a lot of money that makes up a school's budget with those deals. And taking that away, that's going to be a big, big, big problem unless that money is made up. But here is what the legislation says, and then I'll have you comment on it at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. This comes from the bill that's going through the legislature right now. It may pass, it may be signed by the governor, and it may be law. Section 2 of AB 1264. from the midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day at each elementary school. Only competitive foods that may be sold to a pupil are fruit, vegetables, dairy, protein, or whole grain rich food items. Foods with a fruit, vegetable, dairy, protein, or whole grain as its first ingredient, or a combination of foods containing at least 1/4 cup of fruit or vegetable that meets the following standards. Standard number 1. Not more than 35% of its total calories shall be from fat. No more ice cream. This paragraph should not apply to individually sorted portions of nuts, nut butter, seeds, seed butters, reduced fat cheeses, part skim mozzarella cheese. So I guess you could still have your string cheese as long as it's low fat cheese. Or individual for sale eggs, fruits, vegetables. Okay. And things that have not been deep fried or dried fruit, nuts, and seed combinations. Stipulation number 2, less than 10% of its total calories can be from saturated fat. Unless it's reduced fat cheese, or there's a lot of carve-outs that have gone through to make sure that different organizations, like now the farmers, do support this bill, because at one point it was way too restrictive. Number 3, not more than 35% of its total weight should be comprised of sugar, including naturally occurring and added sugar. And this should not apply to fruits. Okay, we get it. Should contain less than 5 grams of trans fat. I don't even think we allow that right now. Contain less than 200 milligrams of sodium. Contain not more than 200 calories per individual food item. Oh, boy. And then it's a whole bunch of different additives and substances, and I think we can all get on the same page with the food dyes and all that nonsense and the Fruit Loops. It's time to do away with that. And I, as someone on the other side of it now, maybe I would be healthier now if I didn't have those options right in front of me while I was at school every day. But I don't know if I would have eaten the healthier food either. I distinctly remember my buddy, he was lower income, so he had the food tickets. Now everyone gets the food tickets. But the food tickets would entitle you to like a sandwich or a burger or that fake rib sandwich. And I remember they would always give him these little cup-sized tostadas. And that was the only green you'd ever see on the plate, was the cup-sized tostada with a ramekin of ranch dressing. And you know what we would do with them? We found that they fit almost perfectly in the center of our lunch tables where there was this little hole. And we would just shove them in there. So I'm not necessarily saying just because you provide healthy food doesn't mean kids are going to eat it. And they can always bring whatever they want from home. Ultimately, what their parents choose to feed them and what eating habits they teach them is more important than what's offered at school. But considering that when people grow up with chronic health problems, they can end up us paying for them for a very, very, very long time, especially with our growing healthcare system. So here's what I'd love to hear from you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Do you agree with this bipartisan legislation that it is time to identify and ban what they call ultra-processed foods in California schools? Think of all the junk food you might have eaten when you were in school. Do you think kids today would be better off if that wasn't available on school grounds? Should we be banning ultra-processed junk foods in schools in California? Give me a call right now. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We have to pay for all this food because every kid gets free school lunch. Should it be the healthiest food possible? Should we be starting those healthy habits now and not when you're 40? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Do you agree with this bill that it is time to identify and ban ultra-processed junk food from California schools? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Get on the line right now. I want to hear what you think about this. 800-222-KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. San Fernando Valley Assemblyman Jesse Gabriel is trying to pass AB 1264. If passed and signed by the governor, it would identify the most ultra-processed foods that are served in schools and ban them. We're talking sodas, we're talking fast food, we're talking chips, we're talking candy. What say you? Should the state of California ban the sale of junk food in schools? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Get on the line right now. Tell me what you think about this. Should the state of California ban the sale of junk food in school cafeterias? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay on hold. More of your calls coming up next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails at randykabc@gmail.com and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. San Fernando Valley Assemblyman Jesse Gabriel is trying to get AB 1264 passed. It has to do with the food that your kids are eating in school. Because in school cafeterias, not only is the food made by the cafeterias, but there's the soda pop, there's the chips, there's the candy, and of course, if you're like the high school I went to, there's the contracted fast food providers. My question to you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222 is this. Do you agree with the contents of this bill? Should we identify and ban ultra-processed foods in California schools? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Thanks for holding, everyone. Let's start with Rick in Orange. Rick, hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi. So I agree with the idea, but not for the reasons the assemblyman wants. I mean, although I don't necessarily disagree with that, what's going to happen, though, is kids don't eat that stuff. Kids want candy, they want Doritos, etc. The problem is, and the reason I think the bill is okay, is you get all these studies where they say kids don't trust anybody anymore, nobody trusts the authority figures. Well, one of the reasons is because we lie to them and we do these two-sided things. We tell them, okay, this is bad for you, but here it is, buy some and you'll make some money for us. We tell them cigarettes are bad for you, but hey, we'll still sell them, we'll just tax them. And then we add cannabis to it. So the reason kids don't trust authority anymore is pretty obvious. It's because we're lying all the time. So only for that reason do I think the bill is okay. It's not going to accomplish anything, and it's not going to change kids' taste or preferences.
I love that thought, though. The fact that we tell kids from an early age, eat your vegetables, eat your fruits. Here's the food pyramid. Here's all the food you should stay away from. And then what's the concession stands in high school? All the junk food you're not supposed to eat.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And then we wonder why, nobody trusts our institutions or elders anymore.
I think you make a really good point. Thanks so much for the call, Rick. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. What do you think about banning ultra-processed foods in California schools? Let's go to Jay in Irvine. Jay, hello.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call. I see how we can meddle with this AB Assembly bill or whatever Senate bill here and there, but believe me, I've worked for 33 years for one of the major California state agencies. I don't want to say which one, and what they call it ultra processed food is just under wrapping. The content is still the main culprit, and the main culprit is when you give a function to government, you allow your politicians to decide for you and your children, even if the intention might be good, but the outcome has proven to always go wrong, and and cause damage and expenses to our society, to our taxpayers. So the major fight should be to take this power out of the hands of our politicians and let people decide with their own money and parents decide like 100 years ago. Believe me, that's the only way we can attack it. And I have a feeling that we are going back to those old ways.
Well, thank you so much for the call, Jay. Appreciate it. You know, it's interesting. You know, even if this passed, even if they did it, it's not going to stop kids from eating junk food. A lot of that has to do with what their parents are eating them, and that might have to do with what's the food they'll actually eat. Kids are really picky these days. I don't get it. But not only that, you know, I definitely ate more than my share of junk when I was in high school, but the most junk food that I ate was outside of high school. Was as soon as I got my car, my first car, my 1991 red dumpy little Ford Mustang. Believe you me, every night I was sneaking out to go to Wendy's or Jack in the Box or both. And then when I moved out on my own, oh boy, it just increased from there. They also correlated with the pot days, but I definitely ate a bunch of junk in high school, and I don't know if I would have eaten the healthy food even if it was there, but I definitely ate most of my crap outside of school. But what say you? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. The state of California is considering identifying and banning the sale of ultra-processed foods in California schools. We're talking soda, we're talking chips and candy, and of course, all those contracts with fast food. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Gail in Anaheim. Gail, hello.
Hello. What I'd like to say is that, one, these cafeterias or this bill, right? So they don't want ultra processed foods. Okay, so are these cafeterias cooking by scratch, or are they bringing in the food and it's popped into the microwave or what have you? Because they're not doing it from scratch. They're not making sandwiches from scratch or pizza or burritos. And 99% of the kids don't want to eat that food. And why don't they want to eat it? Because, honestly, it is gross. If you look at it, it's gross. And they don't want to eat it, so they're hungry, and they want chips. Okay. I could understand that. The first caller said, okay, the bill sounds good, X, Y, and Z, but it's not going to do anything, and he's right. So why are they going to pass it? It's not going to do anything. It's not going to change anything. It seems to me like maybe this politician who's asking for this bill is, trying to rack one up for the resume is what I'm looking at, because this bill will do nothing. It will do nothing for the kids' health. It will do nothing for them to make school lunches more edible or healthy. It's all processed foods. That's what I have to say.
I think you make a really strong point. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Look, just the base of how school cafeterias are run, there's going to be some level of processing. It's not like you're going to be able to bring in just thousands of pounds of fresh vegetables and fruit every day. So you're going to have to go with canned. You're going to have to go with frozen or, God forbid, powdered eggs. I don't know how they do it. The people that work in cafeterias, that is quite a shift. But, do we really need to have fish sticks on Friday? I think there is something here. But will the kids eat it? Ultimately, that's not, kids will go without food if the choice is healthy food or no food. So what do we do there? Let's go to Bob in Hollywood. Bob, hello.
Good afternoon. Good evening, rather. Almost evening. Yes. Well, does the government belong in the school system to begin with is the question, whether they're giving them this lousy food or whatever. What right does the government have to give this junk education they're pushing out? For an elaboration of this subject, I recommend Ayn Rand's book, Return of the Primitive, and how she diagnoses progressive education and why some of these kids never even learn how to think. That's the number one problem. Thank you. Goodbye.
Well, that's definitely a bigger problem that we're dealing with in a lot of California schools. I mean, look at our test scores. We're getting beaten by Miss Pippi. And I say Miss Pippi because I came from a California school. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. The state of California is considering a bill that would identify ultra-processed foods and ban them from schools. Things like soda and candy and chips and, of course, fast food. What say you? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay on hold. More of your calls coming up next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. California is thinking about banning ultra-processed foods in California schools. What say you? Let's go to Eric and Van Nuys. Eric, hello.
Hey, the question for me is, who's to determine what's ultra-processed and what's healthy? I mean, for the last 50 years, we've been going by this food pyramid that has made people obese. 50% of America is obese. Are we going to follow that idea of healthy? And food processed, well, ultra-processed, does that mean that pizza is ultra-processed because the dough is mixed? Does it mean that orange juice is ultra-processed? It's got a lot of sugar in it, too, so who's to say what's healthy? And leave it to the government to screw everything up, even if it's a good idea.
Well, that's a really good point. This bill would create a board that would decide what's ultra-processed and what they would ban. But you're right. You look at the food pyramid and the origins of the sugar people going after fat and then getting everyone diabetic. And you look at, wow, these decisions can have massive implications. Thanks so much for the call, Eric. Appreciate it. Hey, look at this. Speaking of all-natural organic food, 790 KABC welcomes Shucked, the Tony Award-winning musical comedy about corn. It's playing now at the Hollywood Pantages Theater today through September 7th. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-795-2222 gets a pair of tickets to the show on August 28th. Tickets furnished by the Hollywood Pantages Theater. Good luck dialing. I'm going to see it this week. I'm so excited. This is supposed to be the funniest thing on Broadway since The Book of Mormon, one of my all-time favorite shows. So go see Shucked. If you're on hold, stay on hold. More of your calls coming up next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's get back to the phones and go to Lee in Covina. Lee, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. Leah, what you got to say?
Hello? Oh, I just wanted to say many of these schools have cafeterias. They have cafeteria staff. They have commercial kitchens. Why are they not making lunch? And there are also universities that teach culinary. Why don't they kick out the school lunches?
I think that's a really good point, and it is interesting. There definitely is a quantity issue. You have to make so much food for these kids every single day. How exactly do you do that affordably and effectively without using junk? So there's that, but there's also, and this is the dirty little secret, how much of school budgets are made up with the contracts that they have to sell the junk food at the concession stands?
Correct. And how many people are on staff to do cafeteria work? And they're not.
Well, quite a few. That's another union job. Thanks so much for the call, Leah. Appreciate it. Let's go to Angel in Chino. Angel, hello.
Hello. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. And I want to say I was a single dad for my 3 children during their middle school and high school years. And I say get rid of the lunch program altogether. For one, it's crap. And 2, I fix them lunch every day, and their lunch was the envy of the school always. Cheap, okay? You wrap up some tortillas and some homemade bean spread, some lettuce or spinach, fry up and cube up some chicken breast with some good spices or seasoning. Okay, send a little thing of drink, water, and some snacks. I'd say their lunch for a week, no more. It doesn't even reach $30, maybe $25, based on my experience. Anyways, there's too much bureaucracy. We're going to create a whole other department, and it's all just a money grab. It's another money grab. These politicians want to create another job for other politicians, and then cozy up with the private food companies. Get rid of it altogether is what I say. This is not a third world country. We don't have people starving, and if they do, there's other programs for that.
Well, I love what you said, and I love that you're a good dad that was making fresh food for your kids every single week. Thank you so much for the call, Angel. Appreciate it. I will just say, yes, the easy solution to this is parents should be making healthy foods for their kids and sending them to school. Let me tell you one cautionary tale, and it comes from my history. I had a friend who I went to lunch with every single day at high school, and his dad made for him 2 sandwiches every single day. This was the time where we were getting into Pokemon cards, and I got a rare Charizard card. And he was like, "What can I do? I want that card." And I said, "How about this? You trade me one of your sandwiches every day for a month, and I'll give you that Charizard card." And I was eating good. You can see where my priorities were. Well, look, I'm torn on this one because I like the spirit of it, but in practice, who knows if this is really going to work, because ultimately kids don't want to eat healthy. Some do, and the awareness is good, but I think we need to think about this one a little longer. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.